unit for the department. She'll be discussing how we can get water. We had this heat illness training 2 years ago. Since then, we've put in ice machines at West Sac, and also at Pear Blossom has an ice machine. But she's going to talk about how we can get water in the Sacramento area, and purchasing methods for that. So Elizabeth.
I'm going to try to be a little more together today than I was yesterday. I'm a terribly right-handed person. I do everything with my right hand, so I was like balancing the microphone and everything else right-handed. So I'm going to try to pull this off, being a little less awkward today. Wasn't it nice to wake up and have it such a cool morning? Oh, I couldn't believe the change in the weather. But it has made me think back. I grew up in northern Idaho, and you would think in northern Idaho with all the forest land and everything that it would be a pretty cool place. In my hometown, I will never forget the August when it got up to 116 degrees. It was so hot. And the amazing thing was, and I've always regretted this, I missed it the next week when it got up to 120 because I was away at camp. But I became aware at a very young age how heat can really impair a person. And so I just think it's really important that we do this training, and I'm really excited to have a chance to talk with you briefly about what we can do to help you through purchasing services. There are 3 ways to purchase water. There is a standard method, there's petty cash, and you can use CalCard for ice, but not water. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about those methods. First of all, I'd like to let you know, we've only been handling water and ice at the warehouse for about 4 years, and it is a growing program. We became aware of the need to do more for distributing it in the Sacramento area, and the staff at the warehouse 4 years ago did a lot of research and looked into the various options for stocking the materials, and the program has expanded to the point that we actually have ice and water available through the JLC supply room as well now. Field divisions, as you know, have been handling it for years, and we actually surveyed them to learn a little bit about the do's and don'ts and what they had found most successful before we set up our program. Standard method. I'm going to talk about, skip that slide and just move right in. The standard method for acquiring water and ice and materials to support your distribution of water and ice is through requisitioning and using your requisitioner in your program to work with our buyer in purchasing services and purchase the materials for direct consumption. You can always do that. It does require planning ahead. The next option that we will talk about is petty cash. There's a limit there of $50 per transaction, but you can go out and purchase water and ice and then submit receipts and the documentation to be reimbursed through petty cash. That is probably most effective for you when you're going into a remote area and you can't be transporting anything until you get closer to the area, and you'll just need to buy it and then be reimbursed. The third option that is important for you to know about and also recognize the restrictions is the use of the CalCard. The State Controller's Office and DGS absolutely prohibit using the CalCard to purchase water, and that is the reason that we cannot allow you to use the CalCard for purchasing bottled water. If we had control over it, it might be different, but we have no say in the matter. You may, however, use the CalCard to purchase ice if you are going into an area where it is impossible for you to transport ice, pick it up here in Sacramento and then take it with you to the location where you're going to be. And if you do that, what I want to caution you about is it is absolutely necessary for your receipt to identify the item as ice. That's the only way the State Controller's Office will allow us to pay that CalCard bill. And of course, those of you with CalCards know you don't want to get into a situation where they're questioning the bill and then they shut down your account because it's gone too long since it's been paid. So you want to be very careful about that. Now, in terms of what we have at the warehouse, we have bagged ice, we have bottled water, we have equipment for transporting and distributing that. We ask that you use the reservation method to acquire it and notify the warehouse at least 1 day in advance. And Paul will tell you a little bit more about it. I think most programs do just contact us about a day in advance. If you do it 2 days in advance, it's even better. The point is we need to make sure that we have on hand the materials that you need. And we try to make sure that what we have is fresh and current. So we are constantly restocking and moving the stock, and it helps us to be able to supply you with exactly what you need if we have that advance notification of a day or two. There was a message that went out to everyone via the current, I almost said Aquanet, a couple of weeks ago, and that listed the material numbers for the items. If there are questions about that, your requisitioner can contact the warehouse and obtain information on those material numbers, but they are available through that notice that was on current. Once you've made your reservation, we ask that you call the warehouse and let the staff know when the items are going to be picked up and who will be making that pickup so that they can have it all ready for you. And whoever is the person picking it up needs to be aware of the fact that he or she will be asked to sign a receipt documenting exactly what was received for your program. A couple of things to remember about the warehouse. It is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And just the reminder, the advance reservation really, really helps. Now, in stock at the warehouse, we have igloo coolers. They are the primary method for distributing water out in the field. DWR provides single-use paper cups. This is in compliance with OSHA requirements. In the past, I've had people ask me, well, can I use my own insulated cup or water bottle? And if you are going to follow OSHA regulations, you may do that, but you need to have a label on that bottle clearly identifying whose water bottle or cup it is so that there cannot be any mix-up. Another thing that I just would like to mention is after we started this water distribution process at the warehouse, we came to realize that there was a need for having a system for recycling the bottles, and that grew into identification of the need for recycling other plastic materials. Guy Gago is the staff member who was working at the warehouse at the time and put a lot of effort into researching possible systems for recycling, and he did identify a recycler. Paul can tell you more about it, but the bottom line is there is a large bin over there where we accumulate plastic, and it is periodically taken off for recycling. So when you get the 1-gallon bottles, we ask that you bring them back to the warehouse the next time you're going by, and they will go into recycling. But we can recycle other plastic materials too. Even the shrink wrap that comes off shipments or pallets that have been shrink wrapped together for shipment, that can go in that recycling bin. And I don't know about you, but I'm really into recycling and trying to save the environment. So I just want to put the word out there. We can help with that. And anything that you have in your office or work area that's plastic that needs to go, that could be recycled, get it over to the warehouse and they will get it in that bin and take care of it for you. The 5-gallon jugs. They're a little bit different. We pay a substantial deposit on each 5-gallon jug. And in order to make sure that it does not just fall by the wayside, we give out the 5-gallon jugs on a one-for-one basis. So if you are issued 1 jug or 2 jugs, you're required to bring back the empties before you get more. Obviously, there may be some exceptions, but we really like to keep the system working in that way. And I will tell you, because the deposit is high enough, if there's a program that keeps taking jugs and not bringing them back, we will track you down, and if necessary, we will charge that deposit to your program. So please, just remember to bring them back. At this point, I think I'm just going to turn this over to Paul. He will tell you a few pointers, and we will then take some questions. Okay?
Morning. My name is Paul Minch. I'm the supervisor over at the Central Warehouse. To go over, I guess a question came up yesterday on how to pick up your water. We're over at the training center on the corner of 13th and R, and you can pull into the parking lot, and we'll direct you to either back into the dock area to load you up, or if we have a truck or something in there, we'll manage to help you carry it out to your vehicle. When you guys come in, you don't have to park on the street or anything like that. You can just pull into the gated area. On recycling, the recycling that guy got, we have a contract with, I believe it's Southside Recycling, and it's a state contract. And what we did is we just communicated with them, found out that, do they have a recycling program for plastic, and we were able to basically use the same contract we use for cardboard and ledger paper, colored paper, and whatnot. So, and when you, if you use the 1-gallon bottles, you can bring the plastic back for recycling. Also bring the box that comes in. We recycle cardboard also. As Elizabeth said, we do require a 1-for-1 bottle exchange. If you're new to coming to the warehouse and you haven't, got bottles in the past, then we'd give you the bottles, with the, just bring them back when you come to get a new bottle. The water at the warehouse also is for field use, people being in the field. It's not something that you can come by and get for your office. That's a no-no. Other than that, if you call the warehouse, you can either call on your way over or when you get there. We don't want anybody just walking into the dock area. That's unsafe. So we'd rather have you call, say that you're coming or that you're there, and then we'll direct you from there. And I think that's about it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not aware of a limit, but I would suggest checking with Charmaine Daniels, who is the CalCard program administrator, and she can tell you if there is a cap. It is supposed to be used only if you're out in a field situation. If you're here, you should be going to the warehouse to get the ice.
Okay, and I have another question. You mentioned that petty cash can be used for reimbursement of water. What type of water are we talking about? Are we talking about individual bottles or?
Water. It is not limited to what type of water or what container you're buying. We actually discouraged the use of the small bottles because of environmental issues. When the program was set up and the research was going on, we found among the field divisions, there was only one field division at the time that was still purchasing and issuing the small water bottles, and they had they related stories of misuse, inappropriate use of the water, personal use rather than field use as intended, and a lot of litter, and frankly stories of people just leaving half-drunk bottles all around the warehouse or the office. So we made a policy decision that we will not be buying the small individual bottles. The water is being supplied for bulk use when going out into the field. And if you've ever seen Mary Simmerer's presentation on litter and the environmental impact of those small water bottles in the world, you would be absolutely appalled. There is such a worldwide problem with those small bottles not being recycled. So as a policy for this department, we decided we're not going there. If you have a need that requires the small bottles, I don't believe there's a restriction on that. It just has to be a very clear receipt and justification, and then you fill out the petty cash forms. But we discourage the use of the small bottles for that reason. Any other questions? Well, we would suggest that you take the 1-gallon jugs and put them in the trunk of the sedan, and you can either have those paper cups or people can be bringing their own refillable water bottles. Well, that's where you have to have, you're going to have to put one of those coolers with ice, or if you are going to a remote area, as we said, you can buy ice at a location closer to where you'll be working. And you can purchase ice on a cow card. It just has to be a receipt that very clearly identifies it as ice. Or you can purchase it and pay cash and get the petty cash reimbursement for it. So you can get the ice at a closer location. And again, that is a restriction that is placed by DGS and the State Controller's office, not us. So that's the way it has to work. As I indicated earlier, if you have a special need, the best thing to do is for your program to plan ahead and make purchases for direct consumption. And that requires doing a requisition and having a purchase order cut. So if that is what you need, that is probably the best approach. Anything else?
One of the requirements is that the water is clean and potable. Can you do for sure if the water is in the warehouse is clean and potable?
It is purchased it is purchased from a vendor that provides clean and potable water. The ice that we purchase is potable ice. You can purchase ice that is not potable ice. What we have is ice that is intended for drinking ice. In terms of the containers, you can look at OSHA regulations. There are requirements about cleaning the containers, and when you are using them, your program, it is your responsibility within your program to ensure that they are properly cleaned. There are also, you mentioned ice makers previously. There are also very clear OSHA regulations about the cleaning of ice makers in order to maintain ice coming from those ice makers as potable water. And that is one reason that we have not encouraged installation of ice makers at locations like the central warehouse and locations that are easily accessible here. Because if you have an ice maker and you're producing ice that is potable ice, you have to have proper drainage for that machine, and you have to periodically go through certain cleaning procedures to ensure that it is sanitary. And it can be cumbersome, and someone has to take very clear responsibility for doing that. So we like to make sure that we're helping you by providing potable water and potable ice, and then in terms of any igloo containers, it becomes your responsibility for ensuring that you have cleaned them properly and maintained them. No. It's like Alhambra Water. It's one of those companies. And those big jugs, you all probably have water clubs in your offices, and you have those jugs, and you use it in the dispenser, and when the jug is empty, you put it in a crate, and then once a month the Alhambra guy comes through and picks up the crates and takes them away. They sterilize those bottles and reuse them. The 1-gallon bottles go into a recycling system. I mean, they're like milk jugs. And so they go back and the plastic is recycled. The big 5-gallon jugs that we pay the high deposit on, they take them back and they put them through their sterilization procedure.
I think Scott was talking about the igloo coolers.
And I addressed that earlier in saying it is your responsibility to clean the igloo coolers.
So, to clear up what Scott's saying, are the igloo coolers issued to us to keep them?
Yes, the igloo coolers you either purchase them for direct consumption, have your purchasing coordinator do a requisition and buy whatever igloo coolers you need, or we keep a small stock at the warehouse. They take up so much space, we don't have a huge stock. I think, Guy can clarify, what they do have available. But we have a small stock so that if you have an emergency need or a sudden need, you can bop over there and get one. It is charged out to your program, and it becomes your program's property, and it then becomes your program's responsibility to clean it. Yeah.
Just for recycling purposes or just in?
No, anything, we are issuing only the 1-gallon and the 5-gallon jugs. Anything smaller than that, it is our policy that we are not buying it and issuing it. That doesn't prohibit you from purchasing it for direct consumption if that's what you feel you need to take out into the field, but we do very clearly encourage proper recycling of such materials. Anything else? That's it. Thank you so much.